me starting to sell was me starting actually to explore my creativity as a means and a source of income.
Hi everyone, welcome to No Money More Plants podcast. I'm excited to welcome Lesego of Dira It Yourself to the podcast. Dira It Yourself is a crafts, DIY and crochet store based in Johannesburg, South Africa. So welcome to the podcast, Lesego.
Hi, Lebu. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. To those listening, my name's Lesego Mauka. I have a little business or a little DIY page called Dira It Yourself. Dira stands for to do huetsa. I don't know how else to explain it, but that's a word in Setswana, to do. Tiro is work. So yeah, I figured I really always wanted to introduce sort of my home language and other African languages into our sort of daily lives and even in the commercial space and in business. And I hope one day I'll be at the level where it will be a name well known by people. So yeah, I do DIY, crochet, also enjoy sharing tips about feng shui on my page, and just all my little nicks and knacks of hobbies on my page.
Thank you. Yeah, that's like a perfect description of what your page and what you're all about. And I love the play on words as well, like with DIY, playing on with that
Yes.
Dira It Yourself. Can you tell us, like, where does your love of DIY, specifically crochet, come from? Because I think some people would think like crochet is like an old people like
Mm.
hobby. So where does your love for DIY and crochet come from?
So when it comes to DIY, I guess specifically home decor, it comes from my mom actually. Growing up in just our home was always beautiful, and my mom was always painting our bedrooms. I remember particularly one day, I think was I in creche or in primary school, but I had asked her to paint my bedroom, and I chose this green, but it came out like a
Oh
lime
God.
green. And then so I never even got to see the lime green. So she painted it two colors in one day. And then I came
Mm.
back home, and now I left in the morning knowing my bedroom was going to be green when I came back. And my
Mm.
bedroom was pink. So
Oh
I was a
goodness,
little bit
thank
annoyed.
goodness.
I was a little bit annoyed because we agreed on like the wallpaper. It was like a little strip of wallpaper. It was a very cute bedroom now that I think about it. And it had like a matching bed set and a cushion and everything. And I liked the green on it. And she's like, no, sorry, Manaka. And it was pink. So I got it from her. And when she grew up, her father, because it was three girls, always used to make them do like handy stuff or paint the house or whatever, because my grandfather didn't have any sons. So he's like, "Ah, banyana ba ka
Mm.
le tlo sebetsa." So ever since nje, it came from my mom, who just loves beautiful things, and I picked it up from her. When it comes to crochet, um, that actually came from knitting at school, in high school. My English teacher, shout out to Mrs. O'Brien. Um, so she got our class involved in a blanket drive, and she bought everyone knitting needles, or everyone who wanted to participate, knitting needles, and for us to knit squares. So she taught us how
Mm.
to knit, and it was just very basic knitting. I even forgot. Funny enough, I'm terrified of knitting right now. And then I dropped the
Really?
habit. Yeah, I am. Yo, I am. It looks so complicated because the things I want to make that are knitted look extremely
Mm.
complicated. So I just fall back to crochet. And then high school went. I only ever knitted, I think, a scarf for myself, if I ever did. I don't know where it is. And then I got to varsity. I think I knitted myself a beanie. Yes, I think I made myself a beanie. I still have it. It was meant to be a cat ear beanie. And then I don't know what happened to it. It was too tight or something like that. And then somehow, somewhere, YouTube things are free. I get the YouTube was free at Stellenbosch. And I would just sit
Mm.
and watch crochet videos. And I don't know what's the first thing that I made that was crochet to this day. I don't remember. But yeah, I just taught myself. My grand knows how to knit. My aunts know how to crochet. I mean, but funny enough, I didn't pick it up from them. I just picked it up from school, from knitting, and then from YouTube.
Yeah. That's really impressive. Like the fact that because you like the stuff that you do, the crochet work that you do looks so technical. I guess because
Thank you.
I'm more comfortable with knitting than
Mm.
crochet because of that little hook. I'm like, oh, it's very intimidating with the hook and stuff. So but I guess yeah, each to his own. And
Mm.
thank God for YouTube.
Thank God for YouTube.
Yeah.
If you see the way I knit, and that's why I haven't even tried dabbling in the like crocheting tutorials because Shem, I'm gonna confuse people. I I crochet like a knitter. So yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and it
okay.
looks like I knit, but I'm actually you can see I used to knit and then yeah.
And then you went and diversified.
Mm,
No, but
mm,
it's really impressive. It's really cool. You also
thanks.
work a 9 to 5, a full-time 9 to 5. How do you manage like the business and like getting orders out and still maintaining like a decent social life and then having, full 9 to 5 work as well?
So sure. It that has been a bit difficult, I won't even lie. If especially since I started having more orders of late. Um but what I try to do and what I'm uh, gonna do going forward as and when I get more orders is I delegate or try to delegate like my 9 to 5 is my 9 to 5. I ensure
Mm,
that people that order my crochet, I usually have like depending on the size of the item, I'll say 3 to 5 working days or 7 working days, depending on the size. And then my evenings are dedicated to um, my orders and as well as my weekends. So there'll be a time where maybe for 2 weeks, depending on the item or whatever, I'll decide not to go out or not to be around, like
yo.
to yeah, well have my friend come and visit, like at my place or whatever. But I am a homebody, thankfully, so that means that that downtime when I have to make an order, it's not like I'm miserable or anything. And I really do enjoy crocheting because crocheting for me is one of those things where you want to see the thing finish because you can't wait to see your end product. So I'm always
Mm.
excited when I have to do an order all the time.
That sounds fair.
Yeah.
And especially I think with COVID, in that like in the past 2 years,
Yes.
nobody's really been going anywhere. So it's actually been great like learning the
Mm,
skill or developing skills further in that time. So it's been good.
exactly.
Mm. But how
Exactly.
does your background in the social sciences like or do you feel like it influences your creative work in any way or not really? Does it feel disjointed or um do you feel like you can, marry the two?
So in my hopefully very close but in the future, I do see my social sciences background. So as just for a little background for those who don't know me, I studied a BA in development and environment, and then I went on to do a postgrad diploma in sustainable development. So um, I always had ideas where my social sciences would eventually come together with my creative work, especially when it came to training and skills in communities. I have an interest in one day because I do enjoy, or I believe there's still a lot of sort of areas of development in our country that can be addressed through um, transferring of skills. Um, so I do see the two support each other in some will support each other in some way. I do think so. And I think also my creative side also influences how I perceive if like especially when I was studying um how I think about sort of some like a article or a concept or so forth. So in that sense, it has my creative work has influenced that, and even my daily work actually. In the office, I'm known as the creative one. So yeah,
I completely agree with you because I was thinking about like how these community projects always sort of dwindle off. Like
mm,
some well-meaning individual comes into a community and finds that they make baskets, or they create something,
yeah,
and then tries to sort of help the community project become bigger or access certain markets. And I think not understanding that work, or not being able
yes,
like to connect the industry to the type of creatives that the person is dealing with, makes it very difficult
mm,
to continue and make the project even bigger and better. So I think, yeah, I do see, for me, I do see it like working out very well for you, what you're saying also in the future. So it's quite cool.
thanks for that. I will keep it locked somewhere in my mind. I know I'll remember it, or I'll just come back and listen to the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Please do that.
Thanks for that perspective.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest obstacle for small business owners, in South Africa specifically?
Um, so for me, and the kind of things that I make, it's access to like a variety of materials
Mm,
and access to a variety of materials that are made locally.
mm,
So a lot of the yarns that come into South Africa, and the very, very nice ones, firstly are extremely expensive.
mm,
So people wouldn't understand if you were to charge that price, but they would eventually understand if they were to use and enjoy the product. But from if you go on my Instagram page and you see a blanket for a hat for 500 rand, some people might not understand it up until they've actually taken the chance to purchase it.
mm,
Um, so for me, that's my biggest barrier at the moment, and that means I can't always experiment because a yarn is only sold in wherever. And when I think about the value of bringing it here and its saleability and its ability to be adapted and sold in the market, I just get turned off, I could say. I would maybe just import, what is it? Export, import, whatever. Import it, yeah, import so that I could just make something for myself,
mm,
and not necessarily for other people, unless other people see it and they like it and they are willing to pay that premium. Um, yeah, that's
Mm.
yeah.
No, it makes sense. I was actually trying to like
Mm,
get macrame material. Like I
yes.
was I tried I dabbled in macrame, and then I went to the shop, material shop where we stayed, and the ladies were like,
Mm,
"What's that?" Like
you
we're at the
see,
point where they still don't know certain materials and things that are coming from
yeah,
elsewhere.
exactly,
Yeah. So I completely get what you
exactly.
mean by is it, but I want to say your balaclava, that thing, guys. I wanted, I wanted you. It's so cold.
Please
Yo,
buy it.
I really need
Thank
that.
you.
But I just don't know where. I don't know how appropriate it would
Me
be.
neither, because we live in South Africa.
Yeah. I really want to get into the nitty gritty. Like, why did you? Because you enjoyed making the stuff for yourself and like watching the YouTube tutorials and things. Why did you decide to start selling, or was it a demand from people who were seeing what you were making that led to you selling?
So my decision to sell was to obviously start making a bit of income. Um, and ideally, or I would love that would be my uh, bread and butter. Like that would be my
Mm,
source of income. So um, me starting to sell was me starting actually to explore my creativity as a means and a source of income because a large part of me genuinely enjoys
mhm,
making those things. So even if it's not crochet, even if it's a piece of artwork, if it's anything sort of that I have shown people that I can make and they are interested in it. So
mm,
for me, it was me starting to explore that side. Selling also gives me the opportunity, I think, to also experiment and try different things. Like at first, I was very hell bent on selling crochet home deco because I was trying to align crochet to my
mm,
DIY page. And then eventually this year, I was like, you know what? Let's just firstly crochet just for the sake of crocheting because we saw some cool pattern and then offer it to people who would be interested and start doing crochet clothing or
mm.
garments or accessories and see where it takes me. So that's what led me to selling.
I really want to catch on to what you were saying that you were trying to align your
Hmm.
DIY with the crochet. And my question is, do you think that if you were to change anything, like right now you have quite a decent following, I think, and people love the work
Mm,
that you do, do you think that if you were to change
thanks.
it, like for example, I don't know what you would go into, but if you were to change that, do you think that people would like, because what I've seen is bigger accounts, bigger like Instagram accounts seem to stick to like the
Mm,
same thing, even if it seems a little bit boring. Like even if it seems like the person doesn't even enjoy it anymore.
yeah,
Do you think that you would be scared to do that kind of thing? Or just like what you said now that you decided to, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna go into like making crochet that I like instead of what I think should be aligned with
yeah.
what I'm doing.
So initially, a big part of my page was to try and attract brands to collaborate with me and
Mm,
make money out of it. I'm not going to lie. So I felt that if I started showing my crochet of clothing, I would start confusing people on my page, and that's why I have a separate crochet garments page where I'm just literally doing whatever I want. I crochet, I show my thrift
mm,
clothing, I just do whatever I want, and I think a large part of that actually shows my more colorful side. And I actually I've thrown out the idea completely, particularly after buying my famous. my infamous or famous
Oh, I love that
dining
dining
room
room
table.
table. Yeah.
Thank you. Which which for me in like it sort of woke something else up inside of me, well, another side
Mm,
of my taste, where now you'll see hopefully the end of this week, um I will reveal my completed art piece, and I'm going to now dabble into like 70s theme, in my home, and experiment with that, and
mm. Ooh, that's gonna be
yeah, and
exciting.
just do something fun, and that's the one thing about I want to show when it comes to building your home, because 10 years from now I can decide I don't
Mm,
want these colors anymore, but I know that I didn't stick to the cream and the white forever and ever. Like
mm,
I'm even interested in having a house that's like all white and cream and whatever. But right now, that's not what I want. And I want to show that you can have different sides to yourself, your personality, and to your home. And for that to reflect
mm.
very distinctly. So no, I don't think I will stick to one thing on my page. And I don't care how many people follow it. I'm just here to show you that you can enjoy yourself and make your home fun. You're there every single day, especially with us, some people
Mm.
working from home. So explore.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everyone's very much cookie cutter.
Yeah,
All I love the aesthetic, but I'm also
me
like,
too.
guys, like
Yeah,
cookie cutter aesthetic of like the whites and changing your whole wardrobe and changing your whole
yes. To be like linen
house.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, hemp
hemp.
hemp
Yeah,
is the thing
yeah,
now. I love
me
it, but I
too.
just don't know, like I'm worried also, like in terms of, so I've been watching a lot of like zero waste and sustainability
Hmm.
YouTube accounts, and like just how often, like when a cycle changes in like the fashion and the furniture, decor, whatever industries change, how often we are having to
You
change
see?
our, like what we like,
Mm,
and how, yeah, I don't know if I'm a fan of like doing a whole overhaul of my kitchen and
just so
wardrobe
that,
just because,
yeah,
yeah, to stick with the times. It's very, I think also people struggle with that, especially because we have very cheap things. Like you can
yes.
get cheap clothes that are nice and then still look like, you're still
Mm,
in, you're still on trend. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about it. But yeah, okay, we'll get to the thrifting
okay.
in a bit. I just want to talk about your website
Mm-hmm.
because it was amazing. I know it's down at the moment,
Thanks.
but you have a beautiful layout of your website. Did you design it yourself?
So no, I didn't. I just used a template. Talking about cookie cutter, I used a
Yeah.
template off of the Wix. I used Wix.com. Um, and then
Mm.
I just used the standard template that they had, and I made a few color changes and obviously added my own pictures. So yeah, I didn't really design. I picked the design.
It's really the best way.
Yes.
What I've found is that South Africans don't really, like, they are happy with just having an Instagram account, a WhatsApp business account, and selling from there.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a lady last year. She's an SEO, manager, and she was saying like it's so important to own your own things.
Yeah.
So to own your own like website and sell from there, like you can still have the Instagram and the
Definitely.
YouTube or whatever going, but understand that when those sites go down, you need to have a place where
Mm,
your stuff is being
and
showcased.
where people know.
Yeah. So is that why you decided to go on the website?
So,
Hmm. Is that why you decided to go the website route?
so the website route, I chose it Sure. I actually can't say why I chose it. I guess because from home, like my parents have a business, you know. So I knew when at the time they had
Mm,
a website for their business. So for me, it's always been like if you have a business, you have a website, right? Um, and with anything, like if you wanna
mm,
Google whatever, if you wanna Google has a website. You know what I mean? Everyone, for me, a professional
mm, mm,
business that's reliable or that is um trustworthy to some extent has a website. Not all websites
mm.
are obviously trustworthy, but that's sort of the
Yeah,
thinking that I had. And also hoping that I would just get business from just regular traffic, from people just typing in crochet blanket South Africa, you know, or crochet whatever.
yeah,
Because I know sometimes using for Instagram it's not as friendly. I haven't tried it as yet, but I don't always feel like it's easy to arrive to a list of businesses that sell something to you because Instagram is a combination of
mm,
it's a combination of people's personal pages, people's just crochet pages. It's not necessarily selling. So it's not as easy to navigate to find a store. And I might be wrong. I stand
yeah.
to be corrected. So that's also the thinking why I chose a website.
Mm.
Hmm.
Have you tried? I'm just asking myself now because I don't know. I'm new to Instagram, but have you tried the selling on Instagram and how, if you have, how has that um worked out for you?
So I haven't tried that function yet. Um, I'm not really.
Mm,
I'm really just trying to build interest in my work first.
mm,
So yeah. So at the moment, I feel like, and that's why my website's also down. Um, I feel like I still want to get the word out, you know, and for people to be comfortable and to actually want my things. So that's the
mm,
demand hasn't been as high. So I'm trying to build that, and then I will start exploring like other or start exploring the website again and other platforms to purchase my items from.
mm.
Yeah.
Okay, no. What I want to pick up on, you said your parents have a
Yes.
business. So actually we are being trapped here by you because people who are coming from parents or who have family who have businesses understand the risks. They understand, like, they have the perseverance to go through all the heartbreaks
Yeah.
of, like, things not working out.
Yeah.
So you're cheating us, Mus. You have mentors, you have people who can guide you through certain things.
Yeah, to some extent, I have a soundboard. My parents are actually quite nice people to talk to. Um, so yeah, they are. I don't think they always know what I do, but they just know Lesego is like selling her sort of artwork and her creative stuff. They are in the restaurant business, so it's very different.
Which is even tougher
Yeah,
than.
it's very tough. So it's a very different industry to
Mm,
mine,
mm,
and I think of very different eras in which they were started, where they literally
mm.
they
Very
had
true.
to open a shop, you know, and have a landlord and whatever. I just opened a website and an Instagram page, and I only paid Wix, and I didn't pay Instagram to run my page, you know. So it's a very different
Mm,
time, different clientele, um,
mm,
different demographics.
mm.
Yeah.
Speaking of clientele, like, where does your most of your client base come from? Is it people that you know that refer others to you, or is it like Instagram, or how, where do you get most of your clients?
Okay. So I I still have very small client base. Majority of my clients are like friends and family at the moment. A few people come through friends and family, so it is referrals at the moment, and like one or two that like pop in out of nowhere, and they just found my page and are interested in what I make. Yeah, and those are becoming more and more. The more I've noticed, the more that I am active on my accounts, I talk about what I do. I just show people what I do. The more interest there is
Mm. Yeah,
from
that is
people
so
that I
true.
don't know.
It's annoying though because it's like it requires so much work, and I know, and
Mm,
maybe it's not that much work for you, but I like being on my phone for me is like the most exhausting thing ever. So like it requires so much, like um for you to feed this beast in the I
yes,
think I guess it's in the early days. I'm sure like when things get like start picking up, it will start to
it'll
sort
be
of sell
different.
itself. But having to put in so much, like for 3 or 4 people, new people to interact with your
Mm,
account, it can be a little bit discouraging.
a
Um,
little bit, a
but
little
I
bit,
guess
but
it's for the love. It's for the love. It's not.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
So for me, I found that the more frequently or consistently, let me rather say, that you feed the beast, the more it will pay off. So
mm,
that's what I'm also working on, my consistency, and hopefully that
yeah.
will take me somewhere. I've seen it. I've actually my entire family is creative. My cousins, they business orientated, so I've followed or watched my one cousin who has a candle business. She's done very well for herself in the
Oh,
sense that she is consistent, and I admire her for that.
oh, I love
Yeah.
that. You must give us the name, like the.
Oh, it's the name of it is Bloom Handcrafted, but I'll
Oh,
send
okay.
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll link it down below if
Shout out.
when you.
Shout out to my family.
Yeah, shout out to. Um, I guess since you're saying your family is all into like business and clearly
Mm,
creative business, how did you get into the thrifting? Is it from, the influence from your family, or was it from Stellenbosch is quite big in thrifting, so maybe it was
mm.
from your varsity days. How did you get into
I'm
that?
trying to really be honest and trace because I want to credit the people that deserve the credit. So I can say my thrifting originally stems from thrifting on clothes, right? So I had a
Mm,
friend, or I have a friend, and from Stellenbosch. I'd like to think that's where it started, and I could be wrong. But I think I've always
mm,
liked old stuff. It's just that when I grew up in high school and whatever in Gauteng, I don't think I always had access to it, and yeah. But then in Stellenbosch, I have a friend, or I had a friend who would sell thrifted clothing, and they had a business called 1042. It was run by Ntabiso and Dimpo, and they sold thrifted clothing that they get from Johannesburg, and they bring it down to us
mm,
Stellenbosch kids and like show us like. So I have like jerseys and stuff still that I've bought from them. And then from there, I found
mm.
like little stores in Cape Town and in Stellenbosch where I bought like there's this one handbag I actually used it today that I got from the thrift store in Stellenbosch. Then when it came to the furniture,
Mm.
I think particularly my parents started building a house when I moved back to Johannesburg or Gauteng, and they showed me this other place. It's like a scrapyard, and it just has everything. It's call it something. Kostaganeng. That's what we call it.
No way, what?
That's the name of the place.
Say that again.
Kostaganeng. So
Oh gosh.
I don't know
Okay.
stagating. I don't know, but like a
I
little
have no.
corner, like where you, yeah.
Okay.
So
I will. It's on Google. I'm
no,
assuming
no,
it is
that's not
on
the name
Google.
of the place, but I will find the meaning of staganing for you. Um,
Please.
so they were building their house and they're trying to find materials there as well. So
Mm,
like secondhand stuff like windows and whatever, which obviously makes the build a bit cheaper. So then when I moved into
mm,
my own flat, for the first time in Gauteng, I realized things are expensive, right? So
mm,
it wasn't easy. And then I kind of moved out for a bit, went home, and then I moved back into another flat. And I realized that, okay, I had some things now that I had moved into the second flat, but I needed other things, like, so I was like, not everything I'll be able to buy will be brand new. So
mm.
I started really, really getting into it from there. Yeah, that's a very long story, but
No, but it's a progression, and that's what, like, I think that's what thrifting and upcycling old furniture and is all about. And how did you get into the feng shui part? Because that's
ooh,
very different and very interesting as well.
shout out to Bondi. That's my mom, guys. Hey, that lady, she put me on here. I am an entire person because of
Yeah, like legit everything you owe to your
everything.
parents.
Yeah, like and all my interests, I can attribute
Yeah.
to both her and my dad, but a lot of it to her. So growing up, now because she was into home decor and everything, I don't know where she got it from, but she loved to buy home magazines. I'm assuming one day she saw the idea of feng shui, and she just there was a book. I'm still looking for where that book is, but she started practicing feng shui in her home and she put
Yo.
certain things in a certain place. There's a one particular principle I will never forget is that in a home where you live with either your husband or your partner or whoever, your boyfriend or girlfriend, whoever, um, a picture of this. There was this one story in the book that my mom had where a woman was always wondering why is her husband always acting like a child in the house. And they realized
Wow.
when they got a feng shui
Uh,
expert, when they got a feng shui expert into the house, was that they was like the first thing you notice is like, why do you have such a huge picture? I'm assuming of these old people, like why? And then they asked her, why do you have a picture of these old people on your wall, and why is it so large? And he's like, no, it's my husband's parents. He's like, do you have a problem with your husband like being childish and not or not being very responsible in the home? And the wife, this lady was like, yes. He's like, because you have this huge picture overarching your family, um, you are bound, yeah, it's bound to influence your husband's behavior. So they suggest if you have any pictures of like family members or whatever, that they be, and especially parents, that they be small pictures in frames that are just put on like a countertop or whatever, or a table.
ooh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that always stuck with me. So I always felt like feng shui like matched with the whole home decor thing because your
Mm,
home just generally it's a place that really centers you and can ground you, and really be a place where you can recharge before you start your new day or at the end of a long day. So feng shui helps and brings those principles and that energy into your home.
very, yeah, it's very cool and very interesting to learn that. Um, Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Lesego. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun actually.
Please pimp yourself out. Where can people find you?
So primarily right now, people can find me on Instagram. I have a page called @dira.it.yourself. Dira spelled Dira. I also have a separate crochet page called @hey.i. No, yo @hey.i.crochet. Yeah, so hey, I crochet.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Um, yeah, so that's where people can find me, and you can just DM me if you'd like to talk to me. I try and answer as quick as possible. And yeah.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. Do you have any podcast recommendations for our listeners? Any podcast that you enjoy?
So there's this other one called, and I don't know if this lady has uploaded recently, but it's called Sensual Self with Yvonne Whitney. I came across it by accident, and I don't think she's posted any. Oh, she has. It's basically just about um being in touch with yourself, your sexuality, your identity,
Oh, that's quite
exploring
interesting.
relationships. She talks a lot. Yeah, she talks a lot about her relationships and sort of the things. She's married and she's a sexuality doula.
Oh,
So yeah, I think that's a very interesting page.
yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah, that's really. There's also one by my friend. I don't think she's uploaded recently, but it's called Uteronomy. So it's about vaginas, uteruses, and everything in between.
Oh, that's
She's
very
also
interesting.
it's also on Spotify. Um, yeah, those. I'm not really a podcast girl, but I'm trying. You can also listen to No Money Mo Plants podcast.
Look at this. Thank you so much, Lesego. Thank you so much. I really
You're
appreciate you
welcome.
coming on the podcast, taking time out. And I'm hoping that, we will see more like of your designs, of your work. And hopefully that balaclava will be ready for winter for some of us.
Yes,
Thank you so
order,
much.
guys, order.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much,
Thanks, Level.
Lesego. Thank you for listening. If you found this podcast helpful, please remember to like and share it. See you in the next one.